Welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert on Contingent Workforce Strategies LinkedIn group. This is going to be an epic show. I'm here with my good friend, Brian Hoffmeyer from Beeline. I've known Brian for many, many years. And an interesting fact about Mr. Hoffmeyer is he is one of the legendary people in the industry that has a nickname, and even his email is his nickname, the Hoff. So Brian, welcome to the show. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Hopefully we can live up to the epic moniker you gave this. And, I'm just really looking forward to having this conversation. Like you said, you and I've known each other for a really long time. I met at so many different conferences and places around the world and had so many great conversations. And I love how this is just kind of an extension of exactly that. Talking with somebody I really like about a subject that we're both passionate about. So really,
you got it. So interesting, like your background, everybody falls into the contingent workforce industry or the recruiting industry and says, I never thought I'd be a recruiter or in this industry, but then they fall into recruiting and then often graduate into contingent workforce management or working for a VMS. Yeah. You didn't come from the recruiting industry originally, but got into this industry. You came more from the tech and the product side, which is awesome. Yep. So, you've been, 7+ years now with Beeline as SVP of market strategies. Prior to that, you were at IQ Navigator and grew up there as well. So, with over 19 years of experience in the industry, you've seen lots of evolution. So, tell me a little bit more about your background and how you got into the industry.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So, I guess I really look at it that I've been with the same company for 19 years, because, for the first 12, Beeline and IQN were obviously competing. And then, 6 years, actually really 6 years ago, I guess now 6.5, we came together and formed, the largest independent extended workforce platform out there. It cracks me up, so many folks in this industry have been at it for so long, and the irony that we're serving the temporary workforce, yet we all stick around for so long is not lost on me. And I never expected when I joined IQ Navigator all those years ago for it to become my life's work in a lot of ways and my passion. And certainly when I was a little kid, unfortunately many years ago, like this isn't what I imagined myself doing, right? Like I wanted to be a cowboy or a firefighter. Actually, I really wanted to be an architect, and the defining feature of the houses I designed was they had a water slide running through them, which is like an 8-year-old boy. Seemed like a great idea.
I've always wanted to have a house with a lazy river. So yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah.
I actually saw a LinkedIn or not a Airbnb ad the other day for a house like somewhere in the Caribbean that actually had water slides. I was like, I need to go rent that place. But yeah, anyway, I came to this from technology. Like you said, I was working as a technology product manager at a financial services firm that served 401k plans basically, and just had reached the end of my line there and randomly saw an ad on Monster for IQ Navigator, and that launched an interview that has kept me employed for 18 years, and something that I've just become incredibly passionate about, which is the importance of contingent labor, of the extended workforce, whatever you want to call it, and of managing it well. And, I think we just have, all of us in this industry have such an opportunity to make a difference in not only our clients' lives, but in people's lives, in the lives of workers who are doing this work that is absolutely critical to getting product out the door at companies of all types and sizes. And on top of that, we've built this business that is, done so much for all of our colleagues. And it's just something that is, I'm incredibly blessed and honored to have been part of. And I've learned so much, done so many different things. Many of my best friends in the world are part of this industry. And like, I was trying to say that, like, the blending of work and life that exists here is kind of spectacular.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And on that note of, your longevity in the industry and things you've seen, want to talk a little bit about the technology trends, right? So, everybody kind of knows Beeline, but I always describe it as the ERP of the extended workforce. It's the backbone of the technology that automates all the transactions from, we always call it rec to check. So from the need of a person to, all the steps between it to the payment of the vendor or the worker themselves, right? So in talking about that, I love to talk about the trends. So, and you've seen from an all-in-one, you being kind of the backbone, to all the different vendors that have come into the kind of technology realm now, even the staffing vendors, the online platforms, you name it. What are some of the trends you're seeing in, let's call it, the last 5 years to what's happening going forward in the tech market around the extended workforce?
Yeah, and first off, I really like the way you described what Beeline does. I often, like, if a friend asks me, like at a party, what we do, I often describe it as a mashup of a procurement system and an HR system, but focused on contractors rather than permanent employees. And that's how we see ourselves, right? As the end-to-end system of record for managing all types of extended workers across all these different ways that companies use them. And for Beeline, a lot of the trends that I see and I'll talk about are based on the fact that we are just that. We are trying to be the best of breed at what we do, but the extended workforce is incredibly complicated. There's all these different pieces and parts, all these different players, and our clients are complicated. We serve, we're honored to serve some of the largest organizations in the world, names that everyone knows. And in order to meet their goals, you need all these other things that add on to what we do. And so, so first and foremost, like, that's a trend that I very much see and involved in my day-to-day is, what are all the things that need to plug in together in order to extend and add to what Beeline does at its core, and then in so doing meet a client's needs. So you mentioned online staffing providers, direct sourcing providers, all these really cool technologies around assessment and things like that, ranking and rating of workers, like all of those things come together. And so for us, this trend of easy integration and plug and play and bringing partnerships to bear is incredibly important. And there's two approaches. We view that ours of integrating best of breed providers is the right one. There are organizations we compete against that are trying to sort of be all things to all people and have a software for every bit of what you need to run your business, and that maybe work too. But we feel with this increased integration capability that bringing together other best of breed providers to join with us is the way forward. I think the other thing that the big trend that we're seeing and pursuing is making sure that we have the platform that is that offers the right solutions for all the different ways that people hire contingent labor. And we realized, for example, 2 years ago, that what we had around managing high volume shift-based work wasn't the best way. Managing that in a traditional VMS works, but it wasn't perfect. And so we went out and found, first via partnership and then later via acquisition, joined up and brought them into the Beeline fold, because that offered a better solution for managing the highly complex and dynamic needs, ever-changing needs of that marketplace. And so we really look at this again as a platform strategy, and we think that's the best way forward. I think other things that we're seeing are finally coming together of the contingent and permanent workforce.
Yeah.
And
total talent management.
Yeah, total talent management. Yeah, those are buzzwords we've been saying for a long time, and probably we're premature in saying some of them. But with the capabilities we have now, we've been talking a lot about our global workforce intelligence product and its ability to pull in full-time data and combine it with the contingent workforce, so that organizations, I think, for one of the first times ever, can get a true picture of the entire workforce. That's really, really powerful. And then, I guess I'd be remiss as a person working for a technology firm if I didn't talk about artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I was going to say AI's got to be in there somewhere.
you lose your technologist card if you don't. Our view is that AI is incredibly important, and we're looking to use it in ways that take things that humans shouldn't have to do away from them and automate those things and improve on the results, right? And then so humans can then concentrate on things that that we can do best, which is I think probably a pretty common way of
if I was talking to a program team, I'd say, can you take away the data entry? And can you also take away invoice reconciliation at the end of it too? I find those are the two manual processes that if you could put lots of AI in there to help with those, it would be awesome.
You're much better at that than you or I are, certainly not I. But I think the other thing that's really important with AI is to, and again, very much on topic is making sure that you're using it for good, that it's ethical AI, that it's explainable AI. And so again, we've looked at partnerships to help drive some of those things. We have a really cool partnership that's helping rank candidates, but it's got to do it in an explainable way that's not introducing bias into the equation, because that's antithetical to everything that we're trying to do across the industry in terms of driving talent diversity. So I think, for anybody out there listening, when you think about AI, yeah, it's a good thing, but like get underneath the covers a bit and see what are the methods and how are you, because with all the laws that are coming to bear on this, if you implement something that introduces bias, you're going to be liable for that.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the other side of it is all of making sure the sources and the methodologies put into automating these processes through artificial intelligence, make sure we're doing the right things with it, right? But I'm excited to see the rank match. I've often said in the past, I haven't seen an algorithm beat a good recruiter yet, but you know what? It's starting to get there. And that last mile, if you can automate a lot of that heavy lifting to get it in the ballpark, to only have to deal with the top half a dozen candidates from different vendors, that's a huge time saver as well, right?
Interesting comment. I was talking down at a recent conference that we were both at in Miami with a supplier vendor, a very large supplier, and they've been developing a proprietary algorithm that they're using their own recruiters to train. And it's now got a 95% success rate in picking the same candidate that their top recruiters would, which is pretty interesting to think about. Yeah,
it's amazing. So, if I'm a program person looking at my technology and thinking about my technology stack, you've got so much marketing out there. You've got every vendor in each kind of category, be it staffing, online platforms, EOR, AOR, coming to me with technology. I've got the VMSs, the incumbent VMSs. I've got some new age ones that don't want to play nice in the ecosystem often. You've got online platforms not wanting to play nice in the ecosystem. What should I think about as a theme? Like integrations, I think, I do love what you had said as some of your themes is integrations, AI, some of these major headline topics, but what should I be thinking about in my tech stack to make my life easier, right?
Yeah. We could spend hours on this conversation. I think before you even start to think about technology, this is 101 stuff, but I'm going to say it because I see people not think about it, which is first think about what are your company's goals? What are the, and not even your goals at a contingent workforce level, but what is the company trying to achieve? We're expanding to this market. We have this massive product launch. We're going through a transformation effort. What are those top level company goals? And then how do those start to tie down to contingent workforce goals? Whether it's improved quality or savings or visibility or compliance is certainly a huge one right now. And then so start bringing those things down and then share those with your vendors, right? Because it's important for us to get if you don't care about cost savings, why am I going to spend a bunch of time showing you how we help drive cost savings?
No,
people right now especially care about cost savings, but you know, just as an example. So share those things with your vendors, but then also think about you know, how does that drive your requirements? And then finally for us, and this is a soapbox I have trouble not getting on, but like, how am I going to take all those goals and then all the vendors that I'm going to use? How am I going to use that to capture my entire contingent workforce? Because this is something, Jeff, that drives crazy, is that most companies out there do not have good visibility into their full extended workforces.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the analogy I like to use is lucky enough to be this, if I was lucky enough to be the CHRO of a large organization and my boss came to me and said, how many employees do we have? And I couldn't answer that question, I'm probably not going to be employed for all that long.
Yeah.
But in our world, it's okay not to be able to answer that question about this growing and more critical part of the workforce. And like, that's simply not a good thing. And like, if you can't answer that basic question, you can't answer the more strategic questions. And so like, what is your plan to get there? You don't have to do it all at once, because I know it's hard and it takes a lot of work and it can be scary at times. But like, get to those things and then start to think about how they impact the vendors that you need to bring together to achieve just that. And what is the combination of those vendors that you need? And then I think it's really important to, you know, get to, you know, translate those goals and objectives into the requirements. Don't just regenerate a standard RFP with 300 questions. Like, focus it in when every vendor is going to answer those questions the same way. Like, that's exercise, and like, I guess you can make AI analyze that. Like, you know, like, put forth the questions about what you're really trying to achieve to your vendors, and say, like, how are you going to help me do this?
Your goals, once again, and that's going to be the focus, and what differentiates the vendors that and who you select are the ones that are going to be best of breed in those areas that are your key objectives, right? Which is key.
And I think related, like, ask the vendors, both your services vendors and the technology vendors, questions about each other and how they work together. Like, that's, you know, that's important too.
So, you know, as technology is improving and there's AI and automation happening, the transactional nature of MSPs had supported a lot of that transactional stuff and the manual processes and some of the implementations that would be large in nature and needed specific capabilities are changing probably too, right? With that. So how are the MSPs are evolving in this part of the ecosystem, you know, working with you as the VMS partners and other partners, technology partners as well?
Yeah, I mean, rapidly. And you know, you hit on a great point, Jeff, that technology is starting to do some of the things that MSPs traditionally did on a tactical basis, right? You know, like, a lot of the MSP workload was managing processes, right? And I mean, you said this earlier in the conversation that, you know, computers can start to do those things, right? And so MSPs that don't evolve are going to get left by the wayside. And, you know, I guess that does happen. But like, I certainly don't think, you know, you hear a lot like MSPs are going away, and I don't see that. You know, I mean, the privilege of managing our MSP relationships, and we've seen growth in that area in terms of the percentage of our business that involves an MSP, and no matter how we slice or dice the statistics, that's what we see. So I see the MSPs, you know, really focused in on delivering strategic value to their clients around, you know, ultimately the question, how should work get done? And you know, that's a question that can be asked both strategically, you know, across an entire large organization, but then also on a more departmental, even individual manager basis, helping, you know, if I'm a hiring manager and I have this thing that needs done, there's so many ways it could get done. So how do I make those decisions? You know, and so I see the MSPs doing that. I see a lot of evolution around, you know, whereas a few years ago, a lot of MSPs were pretty opposed to things like direct sourcing, and, you know, that's changed significantly. I see our strongest MSP partners embracing that statement of work management, true statement of work management, not just, again, managing the process, but at the front end, having experts in sourcing and helping, customers with the sourcing decisions for these, massive outsourcing arrangements. So that's certainly one. I think leading the way around the ever important topic of diversity, equity, inclusion, and helping customers navigate those waters, and making sure that their diversity programs include the contingent workforce. Because again, if they don't, you're missing out. So those would be kind of some of the major things that we're seeing done. And I also see the MSPs embracing technology to support what they're trying to do, again, to augment what the human does.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And that kind of leads me to kind of the whole idea of the evolution of collaboration, right? Used to be a client would say, I've got a problem. And it was very, very much procurement driven back in the day, in the early evolution of and the start of kind of the industry and the centralization. It was about cost savings and spend management and visibility of that in the first days. And because of that, it wasn't as, humanized, right? And so it was procurement that typically didn't know how to bring people into an organization and let them go and all that sort of thing and deal with people. There tended to be, hey, I can buy widgets and move them through a process. So, but as this has evolved and there's lots of different types of vendors, there's more stakeholders on the client side now. Mm-hmm. And it's not just, hey, I'm going to outsource this to an MSP. A lot of clients are really, especially as they get second, third, fourth generation, starting to say, I want best of breed in all the various categories and vendors that I've investigated. How is collaboration between all the stakeholders, even the client being one of the key stakeholders in our industry and as part of having a successful program? How has that evolved in your eyes over the years? And what do you see the trends in that?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. This used to be a procurement thing, and all joking aside, cost savings is incredibly important. We've seen a shift from, it's not just about cost savings; it's the intersection of savings and quality and timeliness that's most important. And I think a lot of that has been brought by the fact that within businesses, within what I would consider to be, the best run programs that I see, it is a collaboration within that business of procurement. Procurement has a huge role to play here, but also HR and talent acquisition, and then the business themselves, whoever is using contingent labor, IT or a warehouse, a manufacturing site, whatever. They all have to work together to combine on what those goals are. So that's one collaboration that you see. And then you add in, the thing that makes the non-employee workforce so much more complex, in my view, which is biased, but I think this is accurate, than the employee-employer relationship. Is it's not just a bi-directional relationship; it's tri-directional, I think.
Yeah.
It's true. You have the buyer.
It's a new pronoun you've just created, but
exactly. So I'm sticking with it. You have the buyer of contingent labor, who's typically our client, the supplier, and then the worker themselves, and then surrounded by, the MSP sort of overlaying or underlaying, the whole thing in many cases, or a program office for those clients that choose to manage, the program themselves, but doing similar work. And so you've got to get all of those folks collaborating and working together and communicating. And the time is long past for all this crap of don't let your suppliers talk to your managers. That's just dumb. And do it in a controlled and the right way, but blanket statements like that are dumb. And so the way we're looking at this collaboration is making sure that we're building the right tools for all of those actors, all of those personas, and giving them ways to talk to each other. It's probably not a secret, but VMS is traditionally, we didn't think about the supplier persona. All of them raise my hand and admit that, and I'm sorry, and we were wrong. And that's it's not just Beeline. Every VMS did this, but that's changing. And so our product strategy is based on building software experiences that are the right experiences for every element of that triangle, so that they have the tools they need do their jobs, to prosper in this environment. And so that's, our product strategy organization is set up that way, and building software to do that, to let each do what they need to work together for the ultimate benefit of really all of them.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting though, just it's the trust between the vendor community and the stakeholder community, and how people sometimes that are working on the client side work in the vendor community, and the back and forth. And now a lot of the vendor partners will pitch together, even though they're being procured separately, because it's so important to have that collaboration and trust between your vendor community, be it staffing, be it your VMS, be it your EOR, AOR, be it your MSP. If everybody's working in sequence, it reduces all the friction and makes life a lot easier, so that there isn't finger pointing on why things fell apart, right?
In the selection process, it makes it easier for customers to make a decision. If they can see why, Beeline plus MSP1 plus EOR2 is unique and brings something unique that's different, like that helps them make a decision about versus some other combination. And we spend a lot of time on that. And like one of the focuses of my team that manages our MSP relationship is like, when we're together with an MSP, the client should almost be confused about where one stops and the other end,
Yeah.
And I had that experience just last week in a meeting with a prospective client, and they're like, the energy between you is palpable, and like that makes my little heart beat fast, and brings I'm an emotional guy, and it brings a tear to my eye, like, because that's what we're trying to do, is create those connections to ultimately serve the client's needs.
So talking about connections and getting to know people personally, we've met many times over a few beverages or dinners or conferences or you name it. Love for people to get to know you a little bit more. And I know you have a passion for food and wine, and you even have an Instagram page that celebrates food and this hobby of yours. So tell me a little bit more about that.
No, I'd love to. I mean, the thing that excites me more than anything, both at work and at home, in life in general, and those things to me blend together more and more, is connecting people. And I think one of the best ways to connect people is through food. And so that's what drives my passion for food, is it brings people together. My wife and I host parties all the time for 4 people or 30 people. The big bottles of wine back there are leftover remnant souvenirs of our annual Christmas party, which is always themed, and costume theme. Last year it was 80s, and I love walking around with a big bottle of wine, pouring it. And from a food, I show that through food, and just love cooking for people because it makes them happy. And so on Instagram, to your point, I'm Home Chef Hoff. So give me a follow if you want. My shtick, if you will, on Instagram is I do these year-long projects where I have a theme that I'm going with. So starting very early in the pandemic, I did 52 tacos for a year. So every Taco Tuesday, I made a different taco. And I did plant-based meals. And right now I'm doing 52 weeks-ish, because I'm traveling a lot. I can't commit to doing it every week, but 52 weeks of sauce. So I'm doing different sauces from around the world, because I love sauces. So and then, I will caveat my Instagram with, it's not all food. You get to see my other passions. You get to see a lot of travel and cars and things like that. But it's all fun. So
there you go. So once again, thank you, Brian the Hoff, for coming on and having a great conversation today on what's going on in technology, the evolution of collaboration, the MSP world. It's been just a total pleasure.
It's been great, Nuge. Really, really appreciate the time. Honored to be a guest here, and looking forward to seeing people's reactions.
Good stuff. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, man. See ya.